Yo, what's up, yo? This is Romeo, poetically engineered. I'm poetically engineered to deliver the greatest truths of the world. I am the Psychotic Philosopher. So, I talked about neurons and, our brains, and talked about the Bible and what is sin and right and wrong and shit. So, I want to give you just a little bit about, I guess, my philosophy on, this part of life. So, I've been transitioning, and not so y'all don't get this twisted, I am a Christian, I do believe in God, but I've been transitioning that we don't really have a spirit, so to speak, like, one, when we die, it leaves our body or whatever. And I've heard things about, the soul will go to sleep when the body dies and stuff like that. And there's actually different, I guess, thoughts about that out there. I get to thinking because, when we're younger, they're always talking about our conscious, and what's right and wrong. And they always say, listen to your conscience and shit. That really fucks you up as a kid if you don't really have that conscience. So I think that the older people that passes the stuff down really didn't understand it themselves. They, I guess, hear these voices or not understanding these thoughts, and they wonder why people break off and experience or have schizophrenic episodes and shit like that. And it's because of this not understanding or trying to group everybody into this one big ass group, and it doesn't work like that. I don't think anybody has a conscience. I think we're a product of our environments. I think God designed us in a way where every neuron, everything that happens in our brain happens where it picks up our environment and different things get activated. And God also put one thing in us that I don't think, I haven't quite figured out yet, but I'm just going to call it something that has a combination of, or that thing that gives us that choice. And I haven't quite figured out yet what that is or come to an understanding of what that is, but there's a lot of information that goes on in our brain that I believe produces these thoughts or these things, ideas that get brought to us. These voices that we hear, some people think of it as a voice. Some people think of it as thought. Some people think of it as, or whatever it is. But this is how people interpret what's going on in their brain. And some people audibilize it. It's like a dream. Like, I have the ability to just go off into another world, retreat in my own mind, so to speak. And this will be another episode, another day. But, I have the ability to just retreat. But there's these things, these thoughts that happen in our brain that makes us, make that choice, whatever choice we decide to make, whether it be out of curiosity or whatever it is that we're programmed to do. Reason why I say that is because when we're kids, when we're babies, fresh out the womb, our parents are trying to mold us. The environment around us is trying to mold us to who we are. They're trying, and they might be doing it on purpose, or not be. Who knows? I know I did for my daughter. I molded her on purpose, but not really understanding how the brain works and what gets triggered and what doesn't, you really are just introducing these thoughts. And environment plays a big role, and I think that's why a lot of fantasies or a lot of things that happen in my brain is because of my environment, because of my dad, because of my mom. You know, like they say, uh, stealing is wrong. So when you're about to steal, you get this thought, oh, stealing is wrong. It's because it's that information our brains has picked up and stored that tells you that, oh, they said this is wrong. This is the consequence. But then you have, if you've noticed or if you've experienced other people stealing, you're like, well, shit, you know, why? Or if you have that curiosity, why is stealing wrong? Why is having sex wrong? Why is killing wrong? Why is all this wrong? Ain't got shit. That, I guess, goes in your brain, and you get to this point where some people accept that as fact or accept that as truth. But what about those who reject that light, you know, and question? You know, people say morals. I don't even believe morals even fucking exist. Like, if you ever did something that, you know, people deem is wrong, but you did it, did you feel any type of way? Like, did something say, oh, you shouldn't have did it? Or, I mean, did you feel any type of way? No. No. What gets the persecution is the way you was brought up, the thoughts that's in your head, like, oh man, they said this was bad. Now people gonna look at you and differently or whatever, and that's where your persecution comes from. Is what you've been trained to do, and the people around you constantly persecuting you. I believe God does have ways to. He already programmed. I think God is just chilling because He already programmed everything inside of you. And I believe, yeah, all He has to do is talk to you or whatever and let you know if this is wrong or right or blah blah blah. But I mean, as far as all this shit, you know. Oh, and this brings me to another thing. Like, uh, do you know how much trust we have to have in our parents, people, and stuff like that? You know, brain, like neurons. You know, I was reading a thing about neurons, but you know, I have to really trust that they really know what they're doing, or they figured this out. Just like, you know, uh, people's experiences and that they chose to put in the books in the Bible. I really have to trust these other scientists, or when we go to school, you know, they're telling the correct history and all this shit. I mean, we have to have a lot of trust. And, you know, people say you have to do your own research, but sometimes, man, you can't research everything. So now I have to be like, in regards to the information that I read, I am led to believe this. Now, if that information is wrong, then what I believe is wrong. You know. So I no longer have, I guess, that belief in or that trust in people. I just have it as, okay, this is the information that I see here. If I run across a different information, or if I find out on my own research, then that what I believe or what I see will be seen differently. Um, but yeah, I don't want to keep going. Hopefully y'all got a little something out of this, what I just said about conscious and God and our brains. I just trying to open your minds a little bit, get y'all to think a little bit, especially those who probably suffering from schizophrenia or any visual hallucinations or even audible hallucinations. You know how, and not sure where I left off, but you know the batteries in the camera died, so not sure where I left off at, but to get to my point, since I didn't end the video, is, you know, trust. I mean, I really, now how I look at things, I don't even say, if I haven't done the research and I haven't found out on my own, my understanding or my thoughts on certain things that lead me to believe certain things is in regards to, or it's because of this information that I picked up from something, or what I do now sometimes is even read 5 different things from different writers. You know, I don't just look at one writer. I look at it and see what they're talking about, and then I draw my own conclusion from that. If I get in new information, I'll look at that and decide, okay, you know, how does that fit into what these others said, whatever. That's how I actually do things now. I think with mental illness, I don't think people who don't have it, I don't think they can really understand, and I don't even really call it mental illness. I just think it's one's interpretation of what's going on inside their own brain. You know, I know some things get underdeveloped. Why do they get underdeveloped? I think that has a lot to do with the environment. You know, hey, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have no advice for y'all today. Oh yeah, I actually do. I take that back. I got advice for y'all. Don't concern yourself with too much with what you've read. If that's the only information you got, you know, of course, take it with a grain of salt, or read other people's stuff. It's really hard to do research on every single thing that you read. It's nearly impossible. I mean, that's what people used to say, go figure it out for yourself, you know. Don't just always read and believe in what you read. That part is true. But sometimes the only information you got is what you just read. So, always take with a grain of salt. Don't let it be written in stone what you read from someone else. And this just further entrenches my mind on the Bible that, you know, it is written by people. It's not written in stone for me. But I don't think I got anything else to add to that. And this video is already a little longer than I want it to be. So, with that, this is Romeo, Poetically Engineered. I'm poetically engineered to deliver the greatest truths of the world. I am the Psychotic Philosopher. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out.